A very warm welcome to IDFC First Bank presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 11. I'm Ritwika Gupta. We are kickstarting the year with forecast interviews, deep diving into some of the big sectors. And on the show today, the focus will be on the retail and hospitality sectors in India. In the first segment, I'll be in conversation with Manish Kapoor, Managing Director and CEO at Pepe Jeans. And in the second segment, we have Chander K Baljee, Chairman and Managing Director, Royal Orchid and Regenta Hotels. Listen in. Thank you, Manish, for joining us today on Leaders of Tomorrow.
Pleasure, Ritwika. Pleasure.
So I want to begin this interview by talking about the retail landscape. It is constantly evolving. What are the trends or big ideas do you foresee shaping the future of retail in India in 2024?
So see very clearly as in that two or three as in very big trends which have actually as in started in the last 12, 18 months and they'll as in gain momentum in 2024. One is in terms of experience taking precedence over everything else. So we have heard about as in stories on premiumization and other things, but primarily I think the consumer today is looking at experiences, and the premiumization is not just coming in terms of the product aspect, but also in terms of the whole overall experience that we are able to do deliver to the consumer. So I think that's going to be very, very important. Secondly, I see premium as in terms of personalization, but at the back of digitization. So personalization is going to become important, but how this is going to come about is on the basis of data in terms of digitization, how I are able to give those personalized recommendations, those personalized experiences to the consumer. And I think the third important trend is this whole thing on sustainability. I think consumers somewhere, they're not ready to pay a price for it, but they're going to prefer brands or services or companies which will enhance or be able to show that they are better off as compared to others on the whole sustainable journey. So I think those are three very, very important trends that are going to take center stage in 2024.
So e-commerce has become increasingly important in the retail sector. And I read that Pepe Jeans generated 26% of revenues last year from online sales alone. Tell us, how have you adapted your strategy to capitalize on the growing online market in India?
E-commerce today is playing on two fronts. One is that you are able to reach out to a consumer who doesn't have access to these brands in terms of physical formats. And secondly, in terms of the whole convenience aspect, in terms of consumer who doesn't want to travel or he's getting a great deal. So I think what we have done is that we have worked on all aspects of this. One is that we have done a lot of investments in terms of warehousing capabilities, in terms of technology, so that we are able to provide an omni-channel experience to the consumer. Secondly, what we are now working on is in terms of the whole experiential aspect of the consumer, in terms of how can we deliver things faster, how can we recommend something which is more in tune with the consumer requirements. And then thirdly, in terms of how you are able to move away from just a transactional approach into more of an approach wherein you are actually building a bond with the consumer in terms of saying that it's just not a transaction wherein I'm buying or selling goods. It's something which is much more in terms of how the brand is interacting with me, how they are able to showcase stories which are relevant to me, or how they are able to give me something additional, whether it is in terms of better timelines in terms of deliveries or in terms of any experiences which are related to my lifestyle. So I think that's where we have worked on. There is a whole lot of work that is happening on our latest project, which is related to data labs, wherein we are actually looking at consumer in terms of both their online and offline journeys and saying that how can we make them more meaningful? And then that's how we are panning out and looking at the whole space.
Manish, what do you think is the future of denim in India? What are the specific opportunities do you see in India's denim market?
If I look at evolution of denim, as in how it started and the stage that we are in India, so typically, as in if you look at it, denim started as workwear, but workwear which was very, very focused in terms of miners or as in people who were at the ground. Then as in it took a form wherein as in youth took it up as a form of rebellion. But when I look at it as in how denim has moved today, it has become everyday wear. And that's where I feel the biggest opportunity in India lies. One is in terms of the whole penetration. So if you look at it in terms of the average consumption that we have for denim, is still as in very, very low. So for a country like India, as in there is huge opportunity for penetration in terms of number of people who wear denim, both men's and ladies. And in fact, ladies has a much bigger opportunity than menswear there. And then
Sure.
secondly, the usage occasion. So the wardrobe share increasing. So think of it today as in you can wear denim to office, you can wear denim to college, you can even wear a denim with a blazer to a marriage. So the whole usage occasion of denim is also growing. So I think very clearly in terms of penetration and the wardrobe share increase as in are the biggest opportunities for denim growth in India.
Indian MSMEs are poised to be global disruptors in the textiles and clothing sector, Manish. Tell me, how do you perceive the potential role of MSMEs in the denim industry specifically? Do you see them as competition, or do you think there are opportunities for collaboration with these smaller enterprises?
We see that as in these are players which are helping us in terms of expanding the market. They are actually getting in a newer set of consumer into the fold for the overall industry. And I clearly see that there are huge opportunities for collaboration as in for brands and these smaller startups or the small and medium enterprises. Because today, when you look at it, while on a denim, we are looking at integrated manufacturers who are able to do end-to-end work, but at the same time, as in to cater to the needs of a niche consumer, we are looking at opportunities wherein somebody can do smaller lots, somebody who is great in terms of, let's say, in terms of how we shoot a product, how we are able to display it well, something on packaging, can we get more eco-friendly? And I don't see these smaller players as competition. I clearly see them as expanding the market and helping us grow together.
So how does Pepe Jeans India balance the demand for affordable fashion with the need to promote sustainable practices and address, environmental concerns in the production process?
When I look at as in sustainability as an aspect, sustainability and price as in it's not that as in they go on two divergent directions. They actually go hand in hand. Very clearly, the consumer is not ready to pay a price for sustainable practices, but at the same time, when I look at how you can adapt them, at a lot of times when you are able to do it at scale, they are actually able to bring the cost down or keep the cost same while making a better product. So it's not about saying that as an affordable fashion cannot be sustainable, but at the same time, as in when we look at the space that we play in terms of the premium apparel space, very clearly sustainable practices are something which add value to the product. Sometimes they might not even add cost to the whole aspect of production, but at the same time, they help you in terms of providing a better avenue in terms of reaching out or having a better relationship with the consumer, and also in terms of having a better impact on the overall value chain.
So I read that Pepe Jeans India also plans to add 100 stores in the next 3 years, and you're also looking at a 2,000 crore turnover in the next 3 years. Tell us more.
We clearly see there are two avenues in terms of channels that we can expand on. One is the whole online space, and the second is in terms of the physical retail space. When I look at physical retail space, while some of the metros are clearly saturated, both in terms of our presence and also in terms of newer supply of real estate that's coming in, we see a huge opportunity that is there available in the tier 2 and tier 3 markets for us to grow. And there I see very clearly, as in terms of adding 30 to 35 stores every year for the next 3 to 4 years is clearly possible. And again, the average size of these stores are also going to increase because when I look at categories, footwear and ladies is something that we are focusing on, and those categories are going to actually explode in terms of growth. Secondly, in terms of the whole online aspects, as you mentioned before, as in it contributes to around 1/4 of our turnover today. But we clearly see that there is a consumer who's moving to online, not just because of the lure of discounts or promotions, but also from a convenience perspective. And there is a whole newer set of consumer whom we can attract, either who has been exposed to the brand for the first time, or who doesn't have the physical means in terms of a physical store or a sales point being available to them. So that as in that particular channel also, we clearly see that that's going to grow at around 25 to 28% CAGR for the next 3 to 4 years.
Finally, what advice would you offer to aspiring entrepreneurs looking to enter the dynamic and competitive landscape of the fashion industry or the retail business in general?
So see very clearly and some of it applies across industries, not just specific to fashion, which is very important in terms of understanding your consumer and being very, very close to your consumer and doing whatever you do, keeping the consumer in mind, as in keeping the consumer at the center of what you want to do. Secondly, as in when I look at specifically at fashion, I think the most important thing is always have an eye on your inventory, because inventory is the one which actually either makes or kills a business. And the third important thing is be ready to change, be ready to use technology wherever possible. Don't become a slave of it in terms of saying that you want to do it all the time, even without a purpose. But at the same time, look at areas wherein it can help you in terms of enhancing your way of working, in terms of your value proposition to the consumer. I think those are very, very important 3 or 4 things that anybody who wants to get into the fashion business or the retail business has to keep in mind.
It was great chatting with you, Manish. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ritwika. Pleasure.
It's time for a quick break here. We'll be back shortly. Stay tuned. Welcome back to IDFC First Bank presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 11. In this segment, we are putting the spotlight on the hospitality industry, growing tourism and the trends. I'm joined live by Chander K Baljee, Chairman and Managing Director, Royal Orchid and Regenta Hotels. Hi, Mr. Chander. Thank you so much for being on Leaders of Tomorrow.
It's a pleasure being with you. Thank you very much for inviting me.
So I want to begin this interview by asking you, how do you foresee the overall outlook of the hospitality industry in 2024?
I think the outlook is very, very great, particularly since the results of the last election. The whole mood of the nation seems to be upbeat, and we are looking forward to a much, much better economic growth and stability in the country. And I think this will invite a lot of foreign investments. And actually, overall, India seems to be the really only bright spot in the entire world today. Europe is lagging behind. China is tottering, and people are looking at China +1. So I think we are in a bright spot, and all the neighboring countries in our, in our area are not doing that great. So we are definitely poised for massive growth, and that will have a direct impact on the hospitality industry.
Sure. And with a portfolio of over 95 hotels across the country, tell us, how is the group positioning itself to leverage the anticipated growth in tourism in the coming years? Are there specific regions or markets where you see significant potential?
See, we are looking at actually the entire country as potential. And we are going to be today focusing on the NCR and Bombay And also, of course, we are not present in Hyderabad and Chennai. So those are the places which we are going to be focusing on, and maybe even Kolkata also. So that major metros are all covered. So we are focusing on that, but we are not going to move the eyes from the other cities, because I think overall every single state is today, looking for investors. You can see from the number of people who come to Bangalore, where we are based, number of states which we are coming for pitching for investors, looking at their investor meets that they are having. So I think all states are working toward that, and there is a potential in all the states. So we are looking at the entire country. We are weak in the east area, east states, but this year our focus is going to be the east, and then next year will be the northeast. We are looking at that also, but focus remains on the major metros where we are trying to make some inroads in NCR and Bombay, where we are trying to do something. And I think we should be very successful very shortly. And you will hear of some major announcements very soon.
So MICE seems to be picking up momentum post-pandemic. How is Royal Orchid and Regenta Hotels capitalizing on this, and what services are being introduced to cater to the evolving needs of the MICE segment?
See, actually, MICE necessarily means larger inventory and large banquet spaces. So, of course, we are not into very large banquet spaces because that is catered to sometimes by conference centers in the city. But we have over the years about 20 hotels which have got decent sized conference halls and decent inventory. For example, in Ranthambore, our inventory now 90 plus rooms, and we have a good conference hall. In Missouri, we got 95 rooms, and we got a large conference hall. So that way we have about 20 destinations across the country which can cater to weddings mostly, and of course conferences and MICE also. And I think it's a very, very lucrative segment, because in weddings, as you know, Indians are crazy. They don't mind spending on weddings. They don't mind spending on children's education and their houses and jewelry. So I think that's a market which is a booming market. And people are realizing it's more convenient to do weddings or destination weddings in hotels than to keep on hiring places. And so that's not, the trend has changed. It's more fashionable, it's more prestigious to have weddings in hotels, and it's easy, one-stop shop. And we are looking for more properties in this particular segment also. So I think we should add probably another 4 or 5 properties this year in this segment, taking it up to 25. And we are using metaverse and all that to sell our properties, to showcase our properties. There's a big demand-supply gap in our country. Now suddenly hotels have started picking up, and people have realized that they want to invest in hotels. But, it takes about 2 or 3 years minimum for a hotel to come up in our country because of the regulations and the slow pace of construction which goes on. So I think there is going to be a demand-supply mismatch. Our rates will go up, our occupancies will go up. So we are looking for good times in the next at least 3 years. Is party time for us.
Can you share any initiatives or partnerships that you have undertaken to support and collaborate with MSMEs within the hospitality ecosystem?
See, MSMEs, if you really look at it, have got a big boost in our country. So there's no longer that only the big, large cap companies are the ones who give business. Today, these smaller companies are booming actually. And MSMEs definitely will be beneficial to us because they look for value, accommodation, rooms and all that. They're not looking at going to the absolute top 5-star chains. So I think growth of MSME will definitely have a positive impact on the hospitality industry, and particularly in hotels like us, where a major portion of our inventory is in the mid-market space and in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. So I think MSME growth is definitely going to be having a very, very positive impact on us, and we are very happy about it.
And what role do you see technology playing in enhancing the guest experience and to really stay ahead in the landscape?
Technology will be there for helping. For example, let's say the case in metaverse. What are we doing? When a guy comes to make a booking for a banquet hall, and the banquet hall is booked at that time, I can't show him the banquet hall. So we have done a recording on metaverse, so he gets a 360-degree view on both the axes, and he sees the hall, and he sees the setup also. We show him the setup, whether it's auditorium type setup, so that's simulated and shown to him. He can choose the menu there. He can choose the decor there, and he can choose the honeymoon destination. That's another thing what we are doing.
Sure.
We are offering honeymoon destinations for people who are making weddings with us, and free honeymoon destination. But then human intervention is still there. Okay, but it facilitates this thing. So whoever has come and seen our banquet booking engine or so, he feels, wow, this is a wow factor. So I think that's what we are working towards, our team, that not to make it impersonal, but use technology as a facilitator to make things easier for people. So that's what we are trying to do in our hotels.
Finally, what is the long-term vision and growth strategy for Royal Orchid and Regenta hotels? And are there new ventures, expansions or acquisitions on the horizon, to further strengthen the group's position in the market?
We are already 97 hotels. This month, we should cross 100 hotels. And we've got another 25 hotels already signed up for this year's opening. And I would reckon that some hotels which will sign up during the course of the year, which will be conversions. So we should be able to add at least 35 hotels in this year across the country. So I think the thrust should be on this, some five-star big hotels, some boutique hotels, some hotels in the neighboring countries, and of course, a larger thrust in the mid-market space, which will continue. And so target is to cross 130 hotels or 135 hotels in the next 1 year.
Well, it was great chatting with you. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you very much.
With that, it's a wrap on this edition of IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 11. We hope you enjoyed the conversations. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.